The ESS Perseverance cut through the darkness of space, its engines humming with power as it approached Neptune's orbit. Captain Hannah Park stood at the main viewport, watching the blue giant grow larger in the distance. "Status report," she said, her voice calm despite the tension in her shoulders. "All systems normal, Captain," replied her first officer. "Commander Ta Kim, we're on schedule for the gravity assist around Neptune before heading to the Kuiper Belt." The Perseverance represented humanity's greatest achievement in space exploration. Built as a collaborative effort between Earth's major powers, the ship combined cutting-edge propulsion systems with the most advanced scientific equipment ever sent beyond Mars. Its mission was straightforward: explore the outer reaches of the solar system and gather data that might help humanity standing among the stars. Captain Park turned from the viewport and surveyed the bridge crew. Each person had been carefully selected, the best of the best. Science Officer Jun Lee was reviewing sensor data at his station. Navigation Officer Mai Sun was plotting their course with precise calculations. Engineer Su Park, no relation to the captain, monitored the ship's sophisticated systems. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings ahead," Jun said suddenly, looking up from his console with a frown. Hannah moved to his station. "Source: unknown. It's not matching any known signature in our database." Jun's fingers moved quickly across his screen. "It appears to be some kind of spatial anomaly, approximately 5,000 kilometers ahead." Commander Kim joined them. "Should we alter course?" Captain Park considered this. The Perseverance's mission was exploration, and an unknown spatial phenomenon certainly fell under that umbrella. Still, caution was warranted. "Reduce speed to 1/4. Full sensor sweep. Let's see what we're dealing with before making any decisions." The anomaly wasn't visible to the naked eye, but the ship's sensors painted a clear picture on the main display. A swirling distortion in the fabric of space, like water circling a drain. "Analysis?" Park asked. Jun shook his head. "Nothing like this has ever been recorded. It appears to be a localized distortion in space-time, but it's not behaving like a conventional gravitational phenomenon." "Are we in any danger?" "At this distance, no, but I wouldn't recommend getting any closer without." The ship suddenly lurched. Emergency alarms blared throughout the bridge. "What's happening?" Park demanded, gripping her chair as the deck trembled beneath her feet. Engineer Su's voice was tight with tension. "The anomaly is expanding rapidly. It's generating some kind of gravitational pull." "Full reverse thrust," ordered Park. "Engines responding, but we're not breaking free," Mai Sun reported, her fingers flying across her console. "The pull is too strong." The anomaly now dominated the view screen, a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to bend light itself. The Perseverance's engines screamed in protest as they fought against the inexorable pull. "Divert all power to engines," Park commanded. "It's not working," Su replied, desperation in his voice. "Whatever this thing is, it's countering our thrust somehow." Park hit the ship-wide comm. "All hands, brace for impact or dimensional shift. This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." The ship shuddered violently as it crossed the threshold of the anomaly. The bridge lights flickered and died, plunging the crew into darkness before emergency power kicked in with a dull red glow. "Status report," Park called out. No one answered. The bridge was eerily silent except for the soft beeping of emergency systems. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the shaking stopped. The main power returned and the lights came back on. "Is everyone all right?" Park asked, looking around at her stunned crew. They nodded silently, too shocked to speak. "Where are we?" asked Commander Kim, turning to the navigation console. Mai Sun checked her instruments. I don't know, sir. None of the star patterns match our database. We're not in our solar system anymore." The view screen showed an unfamiliar star field. No Neptune, no sun, just strange stars in unfamiliar constellations. Communications, Park asked. Communications Officer Jin Quan shook his head. No response on any frequency, Captain. Earth cannot hear us. In that moment, Captain Park realized the gravity of their situation. 20 crew members, alone, lost in unknown space with no way to contact home. Record everything, she ordered. Every sensor reading, every observation. If we can figure out what happened, we might find a way back. Days turned into weeks as the Perseverance drifted through unknown space. The crew maintained discipline, but fear crept in as their situation became clearer. They were truly lost, with no recognizable stellar landmarks to guide them home. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the loss of the Perseverance sent shockwaves through the global community. Still no signal from the ESS Perseverance, announced Space Command Director Young Ho to a room full of grim-faced officials. The ship disappeared from all tracking systems while approaching Neptune's orbit. We've sent 3 rescue vessels to the last known coordinates, but there's no sign of wreckage or survivors. Could it have been an attack? Asked one official, voicing what many feared. The question hung heavy in the air. Earth's relationships with other spacefaring civilizations were delicate at best. Most alien species viewed humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage, barely worth acknowledging, let alone attacking. But tensions had been rising with several species who resented humanity's rapid technological advancement. We have no evidence suggesting an attack, Yum-Ho replied carefully, but we cannot rule it out. As months passed, hope faded. The Perseverance and its crew were officially declared lost, presumed destroyed by either a catastrophic system failure or an unknown cosmic event. For the families of the crew, the declaration brought little closure. Captain Park's parents refused to believe their daughter was gone. Commander Kim's wife kept his picture by her bed, talking to it every night, as if he could hear her across the vast emptiness of space. But life moved on. Earth's space program suffered from the loss of the Perseverance, both in morale and in standing among the galactic community. Several alien delegations quietly suggested that perhaps humans weren't ready for deep space exploration, that they should remain closer to their homeworld until they had matured as a species. Years passed. Earth's position in interstellar politics grew increasingly tenuous. Without the scientific discoveries the Perseverance mission had promised to deliver, humanity struggled to prove its worth to the older, more established spacefaring civilizations. 5 years after the disappearance, on an ordinary Tuesday evening, a junior technician at the Outer System Monitoring Station noticed something unusual on her screen, a faint signal, barely distinguishable from background radiation, originating from just beyond Pluto's orbit. She almost dismissed it as a glitch, but something made her look closer. The signal pattern seemed familiar somehow. She ran it through the identification protocol, and when the results appeared on her screen, she gasped. Her supervisor found her frantically trying to strengthen the receiver. "What are you doing?" "Sir, I found something," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "A signal with the Perseverance's signature. It's them. They're back." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every telescope and sensor array in the solar system was pointed toward the source of the signal. Confirmation came shortly after. An object was indeed approaching, broadcasting on the Perseverance's emergency frequency. But initial scans showed something that no one had expected. The object matched the Perseverance's general size and configuration. But it was different. Change. The hull was covered with unfamiliar technology, giving it an alien appearance despite its human origin. As Earth waited with bated breath, one question burned in everyone's mind. What had happened to the Perseverance during its 5-year absence, and what changes had the crew endured to survive? Earth's defense fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system, a mix of caution and hope guiding their formation. The altered Perseverance approached slowly, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly sheen that seemed to shift colors depending on the angle of light. Admiral Wu stood on the bridge of the ESS Defender, watching the approaching vessel with narrowed eyes. "Open a channel," he ordered. His communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Wu of Earth Space Command. Unidentified vessel broadcasting on the Perseverance frequency. Identify yourself and state your intentions." The response came after a brief pause. Transmitted on all frequencies in crystal clear quality, unlike anything Earth's technology could produce. "This is Captain Hannah Park of the ESS Perseverance. Request permission to return home." The voice was unmistakably hers, but something about it seemed different. More confident, perhaps, or simply changed by whatever experiences had befallen her. "Captain Park," Admiral Wu replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Your ship was declared lost 5 years ago. We'll need verification of your identity and an explanation for your modifications before we can allow you to proceed." "Understood, Admiral." Transmitting verification codes now. The codes matched perfectly with those assigned to Captain Park before the Perseverance's departure. Still, Admiral Wu hesitated. The ship before them barely resembled the vessel that had disappeared. Its hull featured smooth, curved sections that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Structures that might be weapons or sensors protruded at various points, unlike any human design. "Captain Park, we're dispatching a boarding party to verify the safety and identity of your crew. Please prepare to receive them." "Of course, Admiral. We look forward to it." When the boarding team entered the Perseverance, they found an interior as changed as the exterior. The corridors glowed with soft light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The air felt unusually fresh and invigorating, but most shocking were the crew members who greeted them. Captain Hannah Park stood at the airlock, her uniform similar to the standard Earth Space Command design, but made of a material that seemed to adapt to her movements. Her face was the same, yet somehow more defined, her eyes clearer and more intense. Behind her stood Commander Ta Kim and several other officers, all bearing the same subtle changes. "Welcome aboard," Captain Park said, extending her hand to the boarding team leader. "I understand you have questions." The team leader, Major Lee, took her hand hesitantly. "Captain Park, is it really you?" She smiled. "It is, though I understand your caution. We've changed in ways that must seem alarming. What happened to you? Where have you been for 5 years?" Captain Park gestured down the corridor. "Please, follow me to our conference room. This will take some explaining." The conference room, like everything else on the ship, had been transformed. The table appeared to be made of a single piece of material that wasn't quite metal or glass, but something in between. The chairs adjusted automatically as people sat in them. Captain Park activated a holographic display in the center of the table, showing a star system none of the boarding team recognized. "For us, it hasn't been 5 years," she began. "Due to the relativistic effects of where we traveled, we've experienced 23 years since we left Earth." Major Lee stared at her. 23 years, but you don't look aged." Commander Kim finished for him. "That's part of what we need to explain." Captain Park nodded. "The anomaly we encountered near Neptune was a wormhole, a tear in space-time that transported us to a distant part of our galaxy, approximately 30,000 light-years from Earth." The display shifted to show a planet orbiting a red dwarf star. "We found ourselves in orbit around this planet. Our initial scans detected artificial structures on the surface, ruins of a civilization far more advanced than any we've encountered. We had no way to return home, so we decided to investigate." "The ruins were abandoned," continued Science Officer Jun Lee, who had entered the room quietly. "But they contained functioning technology beyond anything humanity has imagined. We discovered the planet had been a research outpost for a species we now call the Architects," Captain Park explained. "They disappeared from the galaxy millions of years ago, but they left behind automated systems and databases containing their knowledge." "These Architects," Major Lee said carefully, "they changed you." Captain Park shook her head. "We changed ourselves, using their technology and knowledge. It took us years to understand even the basics of their science. What you see, our ship, our bodies, represents only a fraction of what we learned. The hologram shifted to show cellular structures that looked almost human but with subtle differences. "We've enhanced ourselves at the molecular level," explained Medical Officer Jin Kwan, joining them. "Extended lifespans, improved cognitive functions, resistance to disease and radiation. Changes necessary for our survival and eventual return." Major Lee looked uncomfortable. "And the ship? These weapons?" "Defensive systems," corrected Engineer Supark. "We encountered other species during our journey home. Not all of them friendly. We never attacked first, but we needed to protect ourselves." "And now you've returned," Major Lee said. "Why?" Captain Park's expression softened. "Earth is our home. Despite everything we've learned and experienced, we never stopped being human. We never stopped missing Earth." Over the next several hours, the boarding team examined the ship's logs and interviewed crew members. Every person on board was accounted for, all 20 original members of the Perseverance mission, alive and changed, but unmistakably themselves. Back on the Defender, Admiral Wu received Major Lee's preliminary report with growing concern. "You believe they're telling the truth?" he asked. "Their story is incredible, sir, but consistent. Their identities check out. DNA tests confirm they are the original crew, though with significant modifications. And the technology, beyond anything we can comprehend. They've offered to share some of it, medical advances, clean energy sources, but they're being cautious about weapons or faster-than-light travel." Admiral Wu looked out the viewport at the transformed Perseverance. "Do you consider them a threat?" Major Lee hesitated. "They could be, sir. Their ship alone could probably defeat our entire fleet. But if they wanted to harm us, why announce themselves? Why not simply attack?" 2 days later, after intense debate among Earth's leadership, the Perseverance was granted permission to enter Earth orbit under escort. News of their return spread worldwide. Crowds gathered in major cities to watch the live stream as the ship approached. Its appearance in the sky, visible even in daylight as a bright, shifting point of light, caused both awe and fear. Captain Park and her senior officers were transported to Earth's orbital command station for formal debriefing. They arrived wearing simple clothing that resembled standard uniforms, but clearly incorporated advanced technology. "Welcome home, Captain," said Earth Security Council Chairwoman Min as the officers entered the conference room. "Though I suspect home may feel quite different after your experiences." Captain Park smiled. "It does, Madam Chairwoman, but it's still home. Your return raises many questions, and I must be frank, concerns. The technology you've brought with you could drastically alter the balance of power, not just on Earth, but in our relations with other civilizations." "We understand," Captain Park replied. "We've spent years considering the implications of our return. We don't intend to disrupt Earth's development or its relationships with other species. Yet disruption seems inevitable," Chairwoman Min observed. "Already, we've received inquiries, some might call them demands, from several alien governments regarding your ship." Captain Park's expression hardened slightly. "What kind of demands?" "They want access to your technology, particularly the Zor Consortium and the Vexillian Empire. Both have suggested that humans aren't evolved enough to possess such advances." Captain Park exchanged glances with her officers. "That attitude is precisely why we need to be careful with how we proceed. The technology we've discovered was meant to be found by humanity, but at the right time and under the right circumstances." "Meant to be found." Chairwoman Min leaned forward. "What exactly are you suggesting, Captain?" "That's a longer conversation, Madam Chairwoman. One that will change how humanity sees itself in the universe." The return of the Perseverance marked the beginning of a new era for Earth, one filled with promise and peril in equal measure. As Captain Park had foreseen, their arrival disrupted the established order, both on Earth and beyond. But for the crew who had journeyed so far and changed so much, this was just the beginning of their most important mission, guiding humanity toward its unexpected destiny among the stars. The demonstration was held in a secure facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, chosen for its isolation from potential observers. Earth's highest-ranking military leaders and scientists gathered in an observation room, separated from the test chamber by a thick wall of reinforced glass. Captain Hannah Park stood in the center of the chamber, wearing what appeared to be a simple jumpsuit. Behind her, Engineer Sue Park prepared several devices arranged on a table. Neither showed any sign of nervousness despite the intense scrutiny. "What you are about to see," began Captain Park, her voice clear through the speakers, "represents only a fraction of the technology we discovered. We've selected demonstrations that will be most immediately beneficial and least disruptive to Earth's current development path." General Cho, Earth Defense Force Commander, leaned forward. "You still haven't explained where this technology came from originally." "We call them the architects," Captain Park replied. "Evidence suggests they were a humanoid species that reached their technological peak millions of years ago. They appear to have seeded many worlds, including Earth, with modified genetic material." "You're claiming these aliens created humans?" asked Dr. Yoon, Earth's leading geneticist. "Not created, guided. They introduced specific genetic markers that would eventually develop into modern humans. They left technology caches throughout the galaxy, genetically key to activate only for their descendants." Murmurs spread through the observation room. "Let's begin with energy generation," continued Captain Park, seemingly untroubled by their skepticism. Engineer Sue lifted a small device from the table, a metallic sphere about the size of an apple. "This is what we call a quantum fold generator. It creates energy by temporarily folding space to extract zero-point energy from the quantum vacuum." He placed the sphere on the floor and touched it once. It rose to hover at waist height, emitting a soft blue glow. "This unit can power a small city indefinitely," explained Sue. "It produces no waste, requires no fuel, and will function for approximately 500 years before its components need replacement." The scientists in the observation room leaned closer, their expressions a mix of disbelief and wonder. "How is this possible?" Dr. Kim, Earth's Energy Secretary, finally asked. "This violates our understanding of conservation of energy." "It doesn't violate the law," corrected Sue. "It simply accesses energy from what you might call adjacent spacetime. The architects discovered that our universe exists alongside countless others in a multidimensional structure. This device creates a controlled fold that allows energy transfer between dimensions." Next, Captain Park gestured to a small circular platform on the floor. "Transportation technology. This is a scaled-down version of what allowed us to return to Earth." She stepped onto the platform and vanished instantly. A collective gasp filled the observation room. A moment later, she reappeared behind the observers, now standing inside their secure room. "Instantaneous matter transmission," she said calmly as they turned in shock. "Not teleportation as you understand it. The platform creates a temporary link between 2 points in space, effectively eliminating the distance between them." "That's impossible," whispered Dr. Yoon. "The energy requirements alone are minimal with the proper understanding of spatial geometry," Captain Park finished. She walked around the room, allowing them to see she was physically present, then returned through the door to rejoin Engineer Sue. "Medical technology," she continued as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Medical Officer Jin Kwan stepped forward, carrying what looked like a simple handheld scanner. "This device can diagnose any illness, repair damaged tissue, and even rewrite genetic code to eliminate hereditary diseases." To demonstrate, he displayed his arm, where a visible cut appeared. He passed the device over it once, and the observers watched as the wound closed completely, leaving no scar. "The same technology enabled our own enhancements," Jin explained. "Extended lifespans, improved cellular regeneration, enhanced immune systems. These modifications aren't just for longevity. They were necessary for us to survive the journey through deep space." The demonstrations continued for hours. Defensive shields that could repel any known weapon. Materials that changed properties based on thought commands. computing systems that operated on principles beyond binary logic. Throughout it all, the Earth delegation remained silent, trying to process the implications of what they were seeing. Finally, Science Officer Jun Lee activated a holographic display showing the Perseverance's current configuration. The ship itself represents our most significant integration of architect technology. Its hull is composed of a programmable material that can repair itself and adapt to various conditions. The propulsion system, continued Engineer Su, allows for near-instantaneous travel between star systems by creating a localized fold in spacetime. Unlike traditional warp theory, it doesn't require moving the ship through space. It temporarily connects 2 points, allowing passage without actually traversing the distance between. General Cho raised his hand. The military applications of this technology are obvious. Why are you being so selective about what you share? Captain Park's expression grew serious. Because we've seen what happens when societies acquire technology they aren't culturally prepared to handle. The architects left fail-safes in their systems for a reason. What fail-safes? Asked Dr. Yoon. The technology requires specific genetic markers to activate, markers found only in human DNA. We believe this was deliberate, a way to ensure only their designated inheritors could access their legacy. She paused, letting this sink in. During our journey home, we encountered other civilizations who found architect ruins. Without the genetic keys, they could only study the technology, not activate or replicate it. Some of them have been trying for thousands of years. Are you saying humans are special? Asked Secretary Kim, her voice skeptical. I'm saying we were chosen, for reasons we don't fully understand yet, replied Captain Park. The architects saw something in early human genetic code that they wanted to nurture and preserve. The implications hung heavy in the air. If what the Perseverance crew claimed was true, it would fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. After the demonstration, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure conference room. Captain Park and her officers had been asked to wait elsewhere while they discussed what they had witnessed. It could be an elaborate hoax, suggested one official. General Cho shook his head. No hoax could produce what we just saw. The question is, do we trust them? Trust isn't the issue, countered Dr. Yoon. If even half of what they showed us is real, we're looking at the most significant technological leap in human history. The medical applications alone could eliminate disease as we know it. And what about the weapons potential? Asked another official. If other species learn that humans now possess this technology. They already know, interrupted General Cho. Our long-range sensors detected at least 3 alien vessels observing the Perseverance's return. Word is spreading. Secretary Kim tapped her fingers thoughtfully on the table. Captain Park suggested they've been selective about what to share with us. I wonder what they're holding back, and why. Perhaps we should ask them directly, suggested Dr. Yoon. When Captain Park and Commander Kim were invited back, they found the Earth delegation's mood had shifted from skepticism to cautious acceptance. We have one fundamental question, began General Cho. You've shown us technology that could transform Earth overnight, yet you're advocating a gradual integration. Why? Captain Park exchanged a glance with her first officer. Because we've seen what happens when societies acquire technology they aren't prepared for. During our journey, we encountered civilizations that destroyed themselves this way. She activated a small holographic projector, showing images of a devastated planet. This was once home to a species called the Vrinar. They discovered an architect cache, similar to the one we found. Without the genetic keys, they couldn't activate many systems, but they managed to reverse engineer some of the technology. The image zoomed in on crumbling ruins. They didn't understand the principles involved. Their attempts to create energy systems like ours resulted in a cascade failure that destroyed their atmosphere within days. You're afraid we'll make the same mistakes, concluded Dr. Yoon. No, said Captain Park firmly. We're determined to ensure you don't. Earth is our home, despite our changes. We want humanity to thrive and take its rightful place among the stars. But that requires patience and wisdom. She leaned forward, her expression intensely serious. "The technology we've brought back isn't just advanced, it's transformative. Used properly, it will launch humanity into a golden age. Used carelessly, it could attract the wrong kind of attention from civilizations that would rather see humans eliminated than empowered." The alarm sounded throughout Earth's orbital command at 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Duty officers scrambled to their stations as the massive detection grid that surrounded the solar system lit up with multiple entry signatures. "Report," commanded Admiral Jin as he strode onto the command deck, still adjusting his uniform. 17 vessels have appeared at the heliopause, sir," responded the sensor officer. "Configuration matches known signatures of the Zor Consortium, the Vexillian Empire, and 3 unknown designs." Admiral Jin's expression remained calm, but his eyes narrowed. "Position of the Perseverance. Currently docked at Luna Base, sir. Captain Park has been notified." The main screen displayed the approaching vessels, sleek, predatory shapes moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Their design philosophies varied, but all shared an unmistakable military purpose. "Open a channel," ordered Admiral Jin. Before his communications officer could comply, the screen flickered and changed to show the face of a being with pale blue skin and elongated features. Admiral Jin recognized Supreme Commander Loxin of the Zor Consortium, one of the oldest and most technologically advanced civilizations in known space. "This is an unscheduled approach to Earth territory," Admiral Jin stated formally. "State your purpose." Loxin's expression remained neutral, almost bored. "We come regarding the vessel you call Perseverance and the technology it has acquired. A coalition of concerned civilizations has determined that this technology must be surrendered immediately." "The Perseverance is an Earth vessel with an Earth crew," Admiral Jin replied evenly. "Any technology they possess is under Earth jurisdiction." A new face appeared beside Loxin, a Vexillian, their chitinous features arranged in what passed for a diplomatic expression. "Admiral Jin, I am High Commander Vrask. We respect your sovereignty, but the technology in question presents a grave danger to galactic stability. Humans lack the evolutionary development to manage such power responsibly." Admiral Jin was about to respond when Captain Hana Park walked onto the command deck, accompanied by Commander Ta Kim and Science Officer Jun Lee. All 3 wore their modified uniforms, standing out among the standard Earth Defense Force attire. "Permission to address our guests, Admiral," requested Captain Park. Admiral Jin nodded and stepped aside. "Commander Loxin, High Commander Vrask," Park acknowledged. "I expected this visit, though perhaps not quite so soon." "Captain Park," Loxin responded, "your species has acquired technology it cannot possibly understand. The Coalition demands you surrender all architect artifacts and data to qualify custodians." Park smiled slightly. "And who decided which species are qualified?" "Those with the evolutionary maturity and experience to handle such power," replied Vrask. "Humans are barely 1,000 years into their technological development. The Vexillian Empire has existed for 50,000 years. The Zor Consortium for over 100,000. We have seen dozens of young species destroy themselves with technology beyond their comprehension. Yet here we stand," Park countered, "while none of your species have successfully activated a single architect device, despite millennia of trying." A tense silence followed this statement. Admiral Jin glanced at Captain Park, suddenly understanding the alien coalition's urgency. This wasn't about protecting galactic stability. It was about jealousy. "You have 24 Earth hours to prepare the technology for transfer," Loxin finally stated, "after which we will be forced to take action to secure it." "That sounds very much like a threat against a protected planet," said Admiral Jin, invoking Earth's status under galactic law. Vrask made a dismissive gesture. "This situation supersedes standard protections. The Coalition has determined that the risk outweighs diplomatic concerns." The communication ended abruptly, leaving the command deck in silence. "They're afraid," observed Commander Kim. Admiral Jin turned to Captain Park. Can they take the technology by force? They can try, she replied. But the architect systems are genetically keyed to human DNA. Even if they seized everything, they couldn't activate it. Which they already know, added Science Officer June. That's why they're here in force. They hope to intimidate us into sharing how we bypassed the genetic locks, which we didn't. Admiral Jin studied the tactical display, where the 17 alien vessels had taken up positions near Earth's outer defense perimeter. Their combined firepower could overwhelm our defenses. We've avoided major conflicts with advanced species precisely because we couldn't match their military technology. Until now, said Captain Park quietly. Over the next hours, Earth's leadership gathered in emergency session. The Perseverance crew presented their assessment of the Coalition's capabilities compared to the defensive systems now integrated into their ship. You're saying the Perseverance alone could defend against their entire fleet? Asked General Cho, skepticism evident in her voice. If necessary, confirmed Engineer Su. The defensive systems we've integrated could neutralize their weapons without destroying their ships, but that would only escalate the situation. What do you propose instead? Asked Earth Council President Han. Captain Park activated a holographic display showing the solar system. We need to demonstrate our capabilities without provoking a direct conflict. The Coalition believes humans are primitive, too aggressive and emotional to handle advanced technology responsibly. We need to prove them wrong. As the 24-hour deadline approached, the alien fleet began moving closer to Earth, spreading out to establish a blockade position. Earth's own defensive fleet mobilized, though everyone knew they were outmatched by conventional standards. The Perseverance detached from Luna base and moved toward Earth orbit, its modified hull shimmering with subtle patterns of light. Coalition vessels have locked weapons on the Perseverance, reported a tactical officer. Admiral Jin opened a channel. Coalition Command, this is Earth Defense. We reject your demand to surrender our technology. We propose a peaceful resolution through diplomatic channels. Your diplomatic options ended when you failed to comply, responded Commander Loxon. Stand down your defenses and prepare to be boarded. Captain Park's voice cut in. Before you take action, you may regret, Commander. Allow us to demonstrate why the architects chose humans as their inheritors. Without waiting for a response, the Perseverance accelerated away from Earth. When it reached a position midway between Earth and the Coalition fleet, it simply stopped. A soft, golden light began to emanate from the ship, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. When the light reached the first Coalition vessel, something unexpected happened. All its systems went dark. One by one, each alien ship lost power as the golden wave passed through them. What did you do? Demanded Loxon, his voice now coming through emergency backup systems. A targeted energy field, explained Captain Park calmly. It temporarily disabled your weapons and propulsion, but left life support and communications intact. Had we wished to destroy your fleet, we could have. Instead, we chose restraint. The golden sphere continued expanding, eventually encompassing the entire solar system before dissipating. As it faded, power returned to the Coalition vessels. Your ships are fully operational again, continued Park. Consider this a demonstration of both our capabilities and our restraint. The architects didn't choose humans because we were the most advanced or the oldest species. They chose us because of characteristics they valued: adaptability, creativity, and compassion, even toward those who threaten us. Silence filled the communication channel. Finally, High Commander Vrask spoke. The Coalition will withdraw to discuss this development, but this matter is not concluded. As the alien vessels retreated to a safe distance, Admiral Jin turned to Captain Park. That was quite a risk. They might return with greater forces. They won't, replied Commander Kim confidently. We just demonstrated technology they've spent millennia trying to acquire. They now know that aggression against Earth would be both futile and potentially disastrous for them. Captain Park nodded in agreement. This confrontation was inevitable. Better to establish boundaries early. The galactic community needs to understand that humans are no longer the primitive species they can dismiss or intimidate. And the technology? Asked Admiral Jin. Will you share what you just used with Earth Defense? Captain Park's expression grew serious. Eventually. But as we said from the beginning, some technologies require careful integration. What you saw today wasn't a weapon. It was a defense system designed to prevent conflict rather than win wars. As news of the confrontation spread throughout Earth, public reaction was mixed. Some celebrated humanity's apparent ascension to galactic power status. Others worried about the implications of possessing technology that other advanced civilizations coveted. For Captain Park and her crew, the confrontation marked a crucial milestone in their mission. They had demonstrated humanity's potential without resorting to destruction, proving themselves worthy inheritors of the Architect's legacy not through dominance, but through restraint. 5 years after the confrontation with the alien coalition, Earth had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The Architect Academy stood on an artificial island in the Pacific Ocean, its buildings shaped from materials that seemed to flow like liquid while remaining stronger than steel. Captain Hana Park, now Director Park, walked through the central courtyard where students from around the world gathered in small groups, discussing ideas that would have seemed impossible a decade ago. She paused to watch a young woman manipulate a holographic model of a cellular structure, carefully adjusting its genetic coding. Director Park, the student greeted her with a respectful nod. I think I've found a solution for the Tajin plague affecting the outer colonies. Park smiled. Show me. The student expanded her model, highlighting a specific sequence. The virus adapts too quickly for traditional vaccines, but if we introduce this modified protein sequence into the population, it creates an environmental condition the virus can't survive in. Elegant, Park commented. Have you tested it in simulation? Yes, Director. 100% effectiveness across all known variants. Prepare it for review by the medical board. If it checks out, we'll send it to the colonies immediately. This was the approach Park had insisted on from the beginning. Careful, measured sharing of architect knowledge, focusing first on technologies that saved lives and improved conditions throughout human space. The Academy accepted only 300 students per year, chosen not just for intelligence, but for emotional stability, ethical reasoning, and compassion. Commander Kim, now Ambassador Kim, joined her as she continued her walk through the campus. The Vixilian delegation has arrived, he informed her. They're waiting in the conference center. How many this time? She asked. 7 scientists and 3 diplomats. They seem less hostile than last year's group. Park nodded. After the confrontation, it had taken nearly 2 years before any alien civilization approached Earth for dialogue rather than demands. The first exchanges had been tense, filled with suspicion on both sides. But as Earth demonstrated its commitment to using architect technology responsibly, attitudes had gradually shifted. The conference room featured a circular table, a deliberate design choice to avoid any appearance of hierarchy. The Vixilian delegation stood as Park and Kim entered, their chitinous bodies gleaming under the soft lighting. Director Park greeted the lead Vixilian, touching its upper limbs together in their traditional gesture of respect. Thank you for receiving us. Ambassador Krell, Park replied with a slight bow. Earth welcomes the continued dialogue between our peoples. They settled into their seats, and holographic displays activated around the table, showing various technological schematics. We have reviewed the medical technology you shared during our last exchange, Krell stated. It has proven most effective in treating several conditions that have long afflicted our species. The High Council has authorized me to offer an exchange. A new hologram appeared. A sophisticated propulsion system, unlike anything Park had seen before. This is our most advanced stellar drive, explained one of the Vixilian scientists. It allows travel at speeds approaching 90% light speed without the relativistic effects that would normally occur. We offer this design in exchange for access to your cellular regeneration technology. 5 years ago, such an offer would have been unthinkable. The Vixilians, like most advanced species, had carefully guarded their technology from less evolved civilizations like humans. A generous offer, Park acknowledged. We'll need to study the specifics, but in principle, we accept. After the meeting concluded and the Vixilians departed, Kim turned to Park with a satisfied expression. That makes 14 exchange agreements this year alone. The Zor Consortium has even suggested a joint research initiative. Progress, Park agreed, though not everyone is convinced yet. She was referring to several isolationist alien civilizations that still refused contact with Earth, viewing humanity's rapid technological advancement with suspicion or outright fear. Later that evening, Park returned to her private quarters in the Academy's residential wing. Unlike most human leaders who had embraced some level of architect-derived enhancement, Park had kept her modifications minimal after returning to Earth. To keep perspective, she often explained when asked. She activated her communication panel. "Connect me to Luna Base, please." After a moment, Science Officer Jun Lee's face appeared on the screen. Background details showed the research laboratory where he had spent most of his time since the Perseverance's return. "Hana," he greeted her, using her first name now that they were no longer in formal command structures. "I was about to contact you. We've made a breakthrough with the translation." Park's interest sharpened. For years, a team led by Jun had been working to decode the more complex portions of the Architect database they had discovered. "Show me," she said. Jun activated a display showing complex symbols flowing across the screen. "We've managed to decode what appears to be a message, almost like a time capsule left specifically for whoever found their technology. It confirms much of what we suspected, but adds crucial details." The symbols transformed into text as he spoke. The architects weren't just another advanced species. They were the first sentient life to evolve in our galaxy, emerging billions of years before any other intelligent species. They spent millions of years exploring, building, advancing, until they reached a technological plateau. "A plateau?" Park asked. "With their level of advancement?" Jun nodded. "They discovered that physical technology, no matter how advanced, eventually reaches fundamental limits. So they began looking for something else." "Transcendence," Park whispered. "Exactly. They found a way to evolve beyond physical form, becoming entities of pure energy and consciousness. But before they transcended, they looked into the future and saw potential in several primitive species. Humans were one of those species. Why us?" Park asked the question that had haunted her for decades. "Adaptability," Jun replied. "Most species evolve to fit specific ecological niches. Humans evolved to adapt to changing circumstances. The architects recognized that trait as crucial for long-term survival." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "There's more. The architects didn't just leave their technology for us to find. They modified our ancestors genetically, not to make us like them, but to enhance qualities they believed would lead us down a different evolutionary path than their own." "What path?" "One that balances technological advancement with emotional and spiritual development." They saw their own mistake, advancing technology while neglecting other aspects of existence. They believed humans had the potential to achieve balance. Park absorbed this information silently. After a moment, she asked, "Does the message say anything about other species?" "The Vixilians, the Zor. Some were also modified, but in different ways, enhancing different traits. The architects envisioned a future where these various inheritor species would eventually come together, each contributing their unique strengths. A galactic community," Park mused, "not dominated by any single approach to existence." "Precisely. And there's one more thing." Jun's expression grew more serious. "The architects didn't completely leave. The transcended beings still exist in some form, observing from what the database describes as adjacent dimensions. They're watching their experiment unfold." Park felt a chill run through her. "Are you saying they're judging us?" "Not judging. observing. And I believe they may have intervened at least once. The wormhole that captured the Perseverance, Park realized. It wasn't random. June nodded. According to these translations, the architects established certain triggers, moments when they would subtly intervene if humanity reached appropriate developmental stages. I believe our mission was one such trigger. The implications were enormous. Everything that had happened, their discovery, their return, Earth's new position in the galactic community, might be part of a plan set in motion millions of years ago. The next morning, Park stood before the Academy's full assembly, students, faculty, and representatives from Earth's government. She had decided that this knowledge couldn't remain secret. What we've learned changes our understanding of humanity's place in the universe, she told them. We aren't simply lucky discoverers of advanced technology. We are inheritors of a legacy, chosen for specific qualities that even we don't fully understand yet. She looked out at the faces before her, young and old, from every nation on Earth, all united by their commitment to learning and growing. But this knowledge doesn't give us superiority. Rather, it gives us responsibility to develop not just technologically, but ethically and spiritually, to recognize that other species were also chosen, each for their own unique contributions to a greater whole. In the years that followed, Earth continued its careful integration of architect technology, focusing on solving humanity's fundamental challenges, disease, environmental damage, resource limitations, before moving on to more advanced applications. The Academy expanded, establishing campuses around the world, and eventually on other planets as humanity began cautious expansion into nearby star systems. Relations with other advanced civilizations evolved from suspicion to cautious cooperation to genuine partnership. Joint research initiatives flourished, combining the unique perspectives and strengths of different species. And somewhere, in dimensions adjacent to our own, the transcended beings once known as the architects continued their patient observation, watching as their inheritors took their first steps toward a destiny even they could not fully predict.